Today's episode of Doc and Jock is brought to you by Score, a new mobile app coming soon. Score is an interactive game that lets users win deals at bars and restaurants based on what's going on in live sporting events. Find new places to watch games and save money on your bill at the same time by taking advantage of Score's unique interactive specials that give you an additional stake in the action. A Score special can be anything a location wants it to be, from 10% off an item if a team scores a touchdown to a free round of drinks if a quarterback throws for 400 yards. Any stat can be turned into a game. Pick the deals you want to win, watch the games you want to watch, and score deals in real time. The app will be updated when your team or player records a relevant stat. When the conditions of your deal are met, coupons are sent to your device to show your server or bartender. It's that easy. Score is coming to the App Store and Google Play soon. For more information, check them out on the web at score-app.io and follow them on Twitter and Instagram at ScoreDeals. Score, watch games, score deals.
Is there a sports podcast in Detroit that people are talking about?
Hey everybody, this is Freddie Cohen of ESPN Radio. When I'm not talking about breaking news or breaking news on ESPN Radio, I'm always a fan and listen to the Detroit Sports Podcast, and so should you.
This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Thank you for downloading another episode on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. I am the Doc, John Macaroon. Joining me, my cousin, Adam, the Jock Strozinski. What's up, cuz? Welcome to episode 211.
I think there are some embarrassing things going on in the Detroit sports world. And it's not so much what's going on here in the city, but it's what's going on across the sporting landscape, and it all relates right back here to Detroit. The other night, we had a huge trade in the NBA. Kyrie Irving went to Boston. They traded their Isaiah Thomas to Cleveland. At the time, we never thought Detroit legitimately had an option or a shot to get anything done. And then it comes out that they basically tried trading the entire Detroit Pistons team, and they've got squadoosh.
It's unbelievable when you read the papers and you look at the deal that was offered. Andre Drummond, Reggie Jackson, Stanley Johnson, and a first-round pick was offered potentially to Cleveland. They were like, no, I don't think that's good enough. And so when you look at it and you explore and you say, wow, our stuff is not good enough to try and go out and get a superstar. So it leaves you feeling stuck, right?
They tried trading like four guys who are like super integral to this team and a future first-round draft pick for one guy. I mean, that is basically what they placed the value of all those players at. I mean, absolute garbage, right?
And one guy who, if he were to be traded to the Pistons, probably would not even be committed. But
no.
The reasons why the fans were into it and why I'm into it is, look, you trade all that garbage for Kyrie Irving. He comes, you have somebody that's at least entertaining, maybe can drop 30, 40 points a game the first couple years at LCA. Then you tank, which then would lead us into a rebuild, which is what everybody wants. Everybody wants the Pistons to tank and to try and find that superstar, because the appeal of the new arena is not going to be around for that long, especially if the Pistons are not competitive. But you're exactly right. It's more than embarrassing that what we would call our talent was not good enough to get Kyrie Irving. And basically, we got a little taste of it last year when we tried to get Boogie Cousins. We tried to offer Andre Drummond. Everyone's like, yeah, okay.
Right.
And the reports in the paper week after week have been that last year when they started to rewatch some of the film, Andre only tried in less than half of the games and gave full effort. You can't do that. And so he's trying to spin that he had surgery on his nose, that he's going to work on his energy and passion, and that he's got to do a lot more things on the court this year. But it's hard to shake the notion that you got a big check and then loafed. It's just really embarrassing.
What'd you think about the trade? I mean, that totally blew up Twitter, blew up all of my apps on my phone. I mean, it was like, okay, just scrolling through. What'd you think of it?
Win-win for both parties. I mean, Boston gets Kyrie Irving, a guy that was integral to Cleveland in terms of their championship that they won, a guy that can lead that young team going forward. And Cleveland, obviously, they were forced a little bit to trade Kyrie based upon what had happened, but they don't get Scrubs back. They get Isaiah Thomas back, who should gel with LeBron James. Cleveland also gets set up with a young draft pick in the future should LeBron James leave. And so basically, the way I look at it as a Pistons fan, basically negates the Pistons season again, but I'm excited to potentially see Boston and Cleveland in the Eastern Conference Finals. Let's just fast forward to get there right now and see what goes down, because it won't be such a fast series this next go round as it was this last year. But man, oh man, it's going to be exciting potentially in the East a little bit to see how Boston and Cleveland jockey back and forth. And I asked the question on Twitter, on our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast, and it was basically right down the middle. Many people still feel like the East goes through LeBron and Cleveland, but the next team up is not the Detroit Pistons, it's the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, and I think this trade was done for a couple different reasons, too. I think Boston ended up giving up a lot, and that's just because I like Isaiah Thomas. I think he's a player that you could build as a franchise piece, and you can build around him. I also like Crowder. I think he's a very good player. I think on a championship team, he could be your 3 or your 4. And they give up a what looks to be a lottery pick next year in the draft. So I think Boston gave up a ton. But in return, they do get their superstar that they were looking for, and they're going to have about 3 years with him on his current contract. And the hope is that he stays and that he re-ups after his contract comes due in 2020. Now, with Boston trading away Kyrie or trading away Isaiah Thomas, the reason that they end up doing that is it seems like Boston totally didn't believe in Isaiah Thomas. And Isaiah Thomas was Boston. You know, I mean, he was the heart to that team. So they trade away a guy who Danny Ainge obviously didn't believe in and didn't want to invest a bunch of money in. So it works out good for Boston. It looks like it's going to work out for Cleveland. I think Cleveland made this trade to try to protect themselves as well, just in case LeBron does opt out of his contract and does go to LA, like everybody's speculating and all the rumors are pointing to. So it's going to be fun to see. And now you've got two teams in the East. And like you said, Cleveland is not going to sit there and just run through Boston this coming season during the playoffs. So you've got two teams that are 1 and 2 in the East, and they're going to make things definitely more interesting. Doesn't help the Pistons at all, and the Pistons are still in the land of purgatory. It's just what it is.
And then you open the paper on Tuesday, and you read this article regarding Andreas Athanasiou for the Red Wings, and I go, no! And it really upset the Red Wings fans that support us on Twitter, and they were like, look, here's another example of Kenny Holland and what might be the ramifications of giving out such bad contracts to guys that aren't producing. Andreas Athanasiou is trying to pull a leverage play, trying to get more money out of the Red Wings by threatening to go to Russia in the KHL? Seriously?
Look, at this point, Detroit is over the cap, right? So they've got to trade some guys off, or they've got to somehow sell some pieces to get some money. They basically came at Andreas Athanasiou and said, hey, here's the league minimum. This is what we're offering you. And him and his agent said, no, you got to do better. We expect more. And if you look at what he's produced in a very limited role, I mean, the guy put up 18 goals last season. He was almost a 20-goal scorer, and the guy only plays part of the time. He's one of the most active and productive players for the amount of ice time that he gets the last 2 seasons. And then you're going to come at him and you basically insult the kid. You know, this speaks to Ken Holland and his inability to be able to get this team in the right spot to do good things. I mean, you signed a bunch of older vets to really bad contracts, and now those are hanging over your head.
No, it's horrible.
You bring in guys, exactly, Stewie. You bring in guys who don't contribute and don't help the team out. And now you've got a kid who's young, he's talented, and he can do a lot of good things. Yeah, I know defensively he might be a little bit of a liability, but offensively he's spectacular. And you're going to insult him with this offer. It just, I can't wait for Ken Holland to go. I think Ken Holland gets 1 more year. He gets to sit there and do the whole inauguration of the LCA, and then he's out.
It's a tough situation because all the fans want a youth movement, and many people feel it will be for the betterment of the club. Why are you limiting minutes from a guy that can score? Yes, we all understand that in order to play hockey, you have to play defense well, that he's not exactly a well-rounded player, but you also have to look situationally at where the Red Wings are at. They're not a playoff contender, and so why not let him learn on the ice? There's no more valuable experience than you can get than playing NHL hockey, and especially, it's not like the Red Wings are right there approaching the Stanley Cup. No, they're right now just trying to scratch and claw to get back into the postseason. Let these young cats, basically this season, this one season upcoming, 2017-2018, feature Athanasiou, feature Mantha, feature young cats, and let them make all the mistakes so that you can actually evaluate what you have. Because everybody says it. yeah, you can be a performer in the minor leagues and play well for Grand Rapids and do the thing and be a superstar. But then when you make the jump to the NHL, it's a whole new world. It's a situation where the players are faster, much stronger. The ice shrinks. You got to handle your business. And so how does the Red Wings organization really and fully evaluate a player that's always in the minors or a guy that you give 6 minutes to? But Athanasiou was able to buck that trend, scored 18 goals, and many people are upset that he could legitimately go over there and play in Russia. So if that happens, I really think you're going to have an angry fan base. What's the probability, do you think, that he might take a fair offer in Russia?
Well, from what it sounds like, unless Detroit does something spectacular here very shortly, I think there's a huge probability. I mean, I would probably put it at 90% because you got to look at what you get in the KHL. You don't have to pay taxes, and you get paid handsomely, right? So he goes over to the KHL, plays a season, makes some money, and then at that time he can come back, and if he wants, Detroit will probably still own his rights. I think the way it'll work out. So then they can work out a deal. Hopefully at that point their salary cap is under control. This just screams of the inadequacies of Ken Holland as a general manager, because he's put them in this situation where you now have a young talent that you need to sit there and you need to take care of, and you can't do it because your hands are strapped because you sat there and you overspent on guys. I mean, let me put it to you like this. We've talked about the youth movement that we'd like to see. They go out and they bring in a 33-year-old Trevor Daley, okay? This is a guy who is often injured, doesn't give you a lot of points.
Oh, my God.
He brings a little bit to the defense, but honestly, I'd much rather have a Ryan Sproul. I'd much rather have a Nick Jensen out there than a Trevor Daley. You know, I mean, he's an aged veteran, and you're giving him $4 million a season. Why? We don't need that. Go youth movement. Look, they're not going to win a Stanley Cup here in the next 2 seasons, 3 seasons. So let the young kids play. Who cares? We're going to suck. Might as well be entertaining while we suck.
Man, the future of the Red Wings in the upcoming seasons is up in the air. Many people are frustrated with the direction of the squad. And this, again, another example of where when you mismanage the cap, it's going to come back to bite you. And many fans are going to be livid if Athanasiou is not on the roster because of, not because of his talent, not because of what he's doing on the ice, but because of the fact that you can't afford to pay him. After losing J.D. Martinez for the Tigers, losing AA for the Red Wings, man, let's just move off of this topic pretty quickly, getting us all pissed off here. All right, so I had an opportunity to take the wife on a date, watch the football game, watch the Lions and the Jets at Art and Jake's, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought, wow, okay, for a preseason game, watching a bunch of scrubs, we made it through about 3 quarters, having some cocktails, having some appetizers. I really enjoyed the performance, the Lions taking on the Jets. But in the end, you can't really walk away with definitive answers because the only thing you can really look up and say is, God damn, the Jets are horrible. That's what the tanking looks like. You're like, oh my God, they can't throw, they can't run, they can't tackle, they can't punt, they can't do anything. And then
Did you
have
see Christian Hackenberg die on was it the second play from scrimmage? Third play from scrimmage?
Unbelievable. And you have the head coach of the Jets just sitting there looking. It's like he was basically learning from Jim Caldwell, just standing there stoic, looking like I would have paid to hear what was going on in his headset because he had a blank look like this is going to be a hell of a long year.
Here's the thing. Todd Bowles knows what he's in for this season.
Long pain.
Yes, pain. Lots of pain. The Jets basically let their fan base know, look, we're tanking. We are going to suck to high heaven. We're going to be so bad. We are offering you discounted tickets to come watch us be horrible on the field. So here you go. Come watch us suck it up. And look, we're going to try to take care of you. And they are basically rolling the dice and they're pushing all in to sit there and get their franchise quarterback next year with the draft. And yes, they are absolutely awful. Cornelius Washington sat there and sucked the soul of Christian Hackenberg, just basically killed him right there on the 17-yard line. It was unbelievable. I wish we could play the Jets every single game in the regular season because we'd be 16-0 and we'd be going to the playoffs.
So when you watch the Jets, do you think legitimately they can go 0-16? They do play the Browns.
Probably not. I mean, look, what the Detroit Lions did that fateful year when they went 0-16, I don't know if that'll ever be done ever again. Like you and I didn't believe that they were going to go 0-16 then. I mean, we thought for sure Green Bay would come in and Green Bay would just kind of roll over and be like, go ahead, you guys can get a win just because. Because Green Bay played Matt Flynn the entire game. Matt Flynn, do you realize what Matt Flynn got? The one person who stood to gain from that game, it was Matt Flynn. And Matt Flynn cashed in big time. He ended up going to Seattle and signed that ridiculous contract and basically hasn't been heard of since.
Unbelievable, man. The only thing that people have noted and kind of comment on is, well, the Lions' first team offense didn't really destroy the Jets. They had a touchdown drive. They had a couple drives that resulted in field goals, but in the end, you only score 16 on the Jets. Many people thought that, okay, it's time to go to Pound Town and destroy the New York Jets, and it kind of seemed like a workman-like performance, just professional is the way I would look at it. Is they had a game on the schedule, a game on the docket, they went out and they played a decent game, and they didn't screw up. You still had some minor nicks and injuries to TJ Jones and others, but in the end, it was not a terrible performance all around, just not as good as many would have hoped.
Yeah, this was a game where I think you got to see some players kind of work themselves back in to shape, work themselves back into kind of game speed, just trying to get there a little bit. I mean, TJ Lang played his first game of the preseason. He looked pretty good. The one thing I took out of this game, I really liked what I was seeing from the special teams. I think the special teams looks good going into the season right now. And mind you, again, everything I say is with that caveat of it is preseason football. This is game 2, and this is the Jets. So kind of take it for what it's worth. But I do like what I'm seeing out of certain packages and certain groups. Again, I think the offensive line sat there, and they showed me a little bit more this week. Like you said, the offense didn't destroy the Jets. And I think, like you said, it was just more of a workman type attitude. Let's go out there, let's run through some basic formations, let's run through some basic plays, and let's just see what we can do and not really mix anything in. I don't think they were at any point ever going for the gusto and trying to put this team just out of the game. I think they were just kind of just playing, Best way I could put it, essentially it's an organized scrimmage. Do you know what I'm saying? That's exactly what this was. It was an organized scrimmage. This team wasn't out there trying to showboat or show you too much at all. I mean, look, Kenny Galladay was the guy who we talked about from week 1's preseason game, right? He caught one pass. I mean, they basically showed you something, and then they took it away right away. I think this is Jim Caldwell's way of just trying to control everything, not letting too much of the playbook out. Again, seeing what some guys can do in their base package. If you can show me something here, then hey, then we'll put something up and we'll dial it up and we'll give you something that looks a little bit more special. It was just one of those games. I mean, I enjoyed what I seen from Matt Stafford. Again, workman-like approach, went out there and I thought he performed well. I liked what I seen from some of the wide receivers. I was, like I said, mostly I was impressed with the special teams and I was impressed with the offensive line.
You weren't impressed with the organized touchdown celebration? It went viral. I thought it was really cool.
You loved that. You loved it.
I absolutely loved it because of the fact that it's one of those things where, yes, some fun, some organized. So the timing was amazing. TJ Jones, Golden Tate, swinging the jump rope, and Marvin Jones gets in the perfect timing, and he speeds it up perfectly. It looked like there was actually a jump rope there, and it was really cool to see. And that's what it's all about. Let them have some fun because scoring touchdowns is awesome. And hell, as Lions fans, we don't get a chance to see a bunch of scoring plays all that much. So when they get into the end zone against whoever, let them celebrate, and it'll be a fun thing. But it's nice to see Matthew Stafford connect with Marvin Jones because it's going to be important for Marvin Jones to do some things this year. I want to see him continue to evolve. I want to see Stafford continue to control the offense. And I guess I just have to be resigned to the fact that there's going to be a series of checkdowns each and every game. I'm getting more used to it. It does seem more professional. That is how you neuter a quarterback. And after watching Hard Knocks on Tuesday, oh my God, Jameis Winston threw one of the most horrific passes, basically falling down on his ass. Basically, he was almost parallel to the ground, threw a football and was intercepted, and the coach was just lighting him up, saying, "You were playing such a great game. You were in control. You can never, ever, ever throw that pass." And that was after a week of him, being interviewed by John Gruden, being interviewed by Rex Ryan, saying, "Look, you got all the tools. You got all the weapons. Just control the damn football." And yet, they got that gunslinger mentality. And I know Stafford wants it, and there are still some passes that you look at and you go, stop throwing it sidearm. Just master the fundamentals. Get your footwork down. Throw the ball on target. It just seems like the gunslinger mentality, the fact that he knows he can rely upon that massive arm, seems like we're still going to see the same thing with Matthew Stafford, and we just have to come to accept it. This is what it is. He's going to lead a lot of scoring drives. He's going to lead the Detroit Lions offense. It's not going to be horrible. It's not going to be futile. It's just going to be imperative to really look at when the game is tight, can he continue to lead this team? And in the pressure moments, for example, in games where they're down and they have to win versus good teams, late in the season, because he's got another excuse from last year. Oh, he had that thumb injury, and it just happened to coincide against teams that were better than the Lions, and you lose 4 straight. And yes, the numbers drastically declined when Stafford got hurt. But that's not an excuse. You are tasked with leading the Detroit Lions, and it will always start and end with Matthew Stafford. And if this distraction of his contract is going to linger into the season, it could be something to watch and note in that, if the organization doesn't show Matthew Stafford the love, naturally speaking, as a human, he might start, maybe not a full foot out the door, but maybe dipping his toe, thinking, well, they might franchise me for a couple of years, but down the road, maybe I can start to process my exit from this team. So I just want to continue to see Matthew Stafford evolve, play well, continue to have the chemistry with the wide receivers. And in looking ahead, playing a solid team like New England, I just want to see the semblance of a run game, what that is going to evolve into, because there's been a lot of talk in the last couple of weeks as to what's this run game going to do, because without a solid run game for the Detroit Lions, this offense is going to go nowhere. The season cannot go anywhere if you have a lead and you can't run the football. So I'm okay with what they got so far. It's just my skepticism would probably be most attributed to the running back core.
I'm going to tell you why you're wrong about Matt Stafford and why his contract's not going to play a factor going forward in the season. I'd say maybe 3 more weeks or so, and then what you're going to hear is, look, we're not going to discuss my contract. We're not even negotiating at this point. It's totally off the table. I've got to focus on the season. That's what's going to end up happening if they don't get a deal done in the next couple weeks.
He'll shut it down?
He'll shut it down. He'll have to, because he's been doing nothing but answering questions about it left and right. And he's getting sick of it. So it does start to distract you, distract your teammates, distract everybody. So I think he will shut that down in the next couple weeks, and he'll just be like, look, we're not even talking about it right now. We'll wait till the offseason, and then we'll work something out. And here's the deal. They might franchise him, right? If they place a franchise tag on him, that's fine.
He gets good money.
Yes, he stands to earn a very nice sum of cash. They can come back the following year, and they can do the same exact thing, and he's still going to earn a ton of cash. The thing is, he is now playing for a contract every single season that they franchise him. This is why his play will not dip. If anything, send his play up, because he's now playing for that contract. He won't put his foot out the door because he's got to show to other teams that he's a leader, that, hey, I'm worth this $30 million a season, or I'm worth this $100 million guaranteed. I deserve this contract. And that's why his play won't dip, and that's why it might actually go in the opposite direction that you're predicting. It might actually go up. And I do think what they're going to end up doing with Matt Stafford is, the way I look at him, he's like a young colt, right? Like a horse. He's a young colt. He sits there, he's full of energy, he's wild, he likes to sit there and buck the trend. You got to sometimes rein him in. You got to keep him controlled. Matt Stafford's got that great arm, right? And what he can do is he can unleash it at any time, but sometimes it gets him in trouble. So this offense is built around his ability to sit there and unleash that arm when he has to, but they've got to keep it controlled. So you're going to see a lot of the checkdowns. You're going to see the dump-offs. You're going to see just the little slant plays where he's picking up 5 and 7 yards at a clip. And then what'll happen is when they need him, they'll sit there, they'll take the reins off him, they'll say, hey, go win us a game. And he'll sit there and he'll open it up and he'll air it out. And I think that's how this offense is going to work. Going forward, when they're sitting there matching up against the Pats, I think you're absolutely right. The run game has been abysmal this preseason. And again, it's preseason. We're not seeing a whole lot, but it has given me no hope. I think we're right back where we were last year. You got Amir Abdullah, who is the number 1 running back. Theo Riddick obviously isn't 100% because he's hardly getting any touches out there if he's playing at all. And after that, look, the guy who I like, Zach Zenner, they're not going to make him their number 2 running back. It's probably going to be Dwayne Washington. He's a better between the tackle runner, and he gives you a little bit of power, but he's sitting there operating with the second and third team offense. He's not even seeing first team reps. So what do you got? You got Amir Abdullah? Amir Abdullah doesn't do it for me. This run game is abysmal right now, and you've invested all that money into that offensive line. I would hope at this point to see a little bit more. Hopefully going into this 3rd preseason game against New England, we do get to see something. I mean, some semblance of a running game. Shoot, put up 50 yards with your first team and just make it look decent, look like an adequate run team.
Exactly. Because of the fact you've played the Colts and you've played the Jets, it's one of those things where you can't really get a solid evaluation as to what you actually have. The New England Patriots, it's going to be a test, but at the same time, they're not going to be putting forth their solid.
They're not going to show you nothing either.
They're not going to show you nothing either. So the thing that I want to see is walk into that game, play solidly, no mistakes, no penalties. Make sure you use your timeouts properly. Make sure the finer points of the game are taken care of. In terms of the minutia, look, Stafford should probably play maybe the first half and maybe a little bit into the third quarter because it is the third preseason game. But you want to see a competitive ball game, and the Detroit Lions have been that in the preseason. They haven't looked terrible. There are some things that we have to clean up, but by Arizona, I fully expect that the Detroit Lions will be ready to go that first game. Did you watch the game on DVR or did you watch it live?
I watched it on DVR. So here's the thing. I had a little bit of an issue with my Sling TV.
Oh.
All right? So I was sitting there I promised the wife that I would take her out. We'd have a date night. So I was sitting there Saturday morning while we were sitting down paying bills. I was setting everything up to record because I knew I probably wasn't going to be home. So I was sitting there I recorded the pregame, recorded the postgame, and I was trying to record the game, and I kept getting this error message. I don't know what it was for, why it was there. I tried 5 different times, and I kept getting error. I was like, all right, fine, don't worry about it. We're going to leave for a little bit. We'll come back, and then I'll just do it then. I totally forgot about it. So we're driving, and I'm flipping through, and I hear the game on the radio, and I'm like, oh, crap. I totally forgot to set it to record. So I was like, hey, can you set it to record on your phone real quick? I mean, at least if anything, I'll miss the first little bit of the game, like first 5 minutes of the first quarter. I was like, I can watch the rest of it, and I'll just maybe catch the rest on highlights. No big deal. So she's trying to do it from her phone. She can't do it. So then I get pissed off, and I'm like, just give me my phone. I just sat there. I hurried up, and I tried doing it on my phone. It's set up to record other games, not the Lions game. So then what I had to do was when they sat there and they played the replay on Sunday morning, I was able to pick it up on Fox Sports Detroit, and I watched it then.
Very good, because of the fact I did get a chance to hear some of the audio, and my goodness, it just seemed like a 3-hour commercial for Ford Field. Oh, look at this. Oh, look at that. And to see Torrey Petrie on the sideline, I'm like, oh, my God. This is just a huge amount of PR going on here. And it was just like, oh, my goodness, can they lay it on any thicker regarding how awesome Ford Field is? It seemed like they went through every nook and cranny of Ford Field and were like, please come down here. Please come down here. The tickets are going to be great. The experience is going to be great. The board is going to be great. And, of course, they got into the minutia of the roster and stuff like that, but it just seemed like a 3-hour commercial for Ford Field on the broadcast. Whew.
Did you hear about Roger Goodell was in town the other day, him and Rod Wood, and select members, select season ticket holders were invited to a Q&A with him? Did you hear that Martha Ford had no idea what
Hard Knocks was? I saw. What's Hard Knocks?
This lady, I don't know how she owns the football team, but
hey, Adam, I'm telling you, the minutia of that kind of stuff, promotion, she doesn't care about. She cares about one thing. She sits down with Rod Wood and she puts her feet up. How are the numbers, baby?
That's right.
And he's like, we're slated to get that $245 million September 1st, baby. It's coming. It's going to be wired into your account, Martha. It's all good.
Oh, man.
Yeah, what's Hard Knocks? And then did you hear Rod Wood's answer? Oh, don't worry. We're not going to involve ourselves with that. Don't even worry about it.
We're not interested in that.
We're not interested in all that. We're interested in collecting a lot of fees and a lot of money. So Martha doesn't care about all that. She just wants to, to be the head of the organization. She just wants to make sure everything's going well on the money side, and so far so good.
She just wants those greenbacks, that's all.
Hey, they got the guy from New England. Let him do his thing. It seems like it's tight-knit. It's not as bad as it has been in terms of what they're spewing out to the media. It is a little bit boring, but at the same time, that's what they want. Just keep the checks rolling. Let's keep the heat off of us, directed to Bob Quinn, directed to Jim Caldwell. And we could collect the funds from the TV deal, and everything will be all gravy. That's what it is to be an owner.
Well, what would you prefer? Because during that Q&A, there was some discussion and there was some talk about possibly the Detroit Lions getting the NFL draft. Would you prefer the Lions host the NFL draft or host another Super Bowl?
I would much rather have the Lions experience a Super Bowl because that week in 2005 was amazing. They cleaned up the city.
Yeah.
They were like, what happened to all the homeless people?
Well, that's what they did. They took all the homeless people and put them in Pontiac.
It was like, oh, let's paint the city up for 3 months and let everybody see what the nice part of the city looks like. And then once they left, it was like, okay, you guys can go roam the city and play your drums and collect your money. But, so I'd love to see that. But I'd love to see the NFL draft as well because it's an organized party. It would be something where all the fans could get together. And the moment when the Lions would draft could be a celebratory moment. If it can be recreated to what Philly did, oh, hell, you would want to have a block party for 3 days. That would be fun as all hell. But something that also, though, caught my mind was, I don't know if you saw this little nugget, and something that we talked about is the players and the players union is pissed regarding Roger Goodell and his ability to oversee the player conduct situation. And so there was a little bit of a nugget that said, look, the players don't care if the league folds in 10, 15 years if they don't agree to a collective bargaining agreement. And the notion that there's going to be a strike in 2021 or so really leads me to believe there's going to be a concern here regarding the NFL and what they're going to ask for in this collective bargaining agreement. And the players are really sick of feeling like they've been taken advantage of, and they don't want Roger Goodell to have all that power, but the owners really push for it. So it could be really the bargaining chip and the point of contention and argument in the next agreement, which is if Goodell is going to oversee all the punishments, it's going to be a problem with the players. And they just may say, screw it, we're going to hold out for a whole year. I see potential labor problems in 2021 and beyond.
I think a strike is imminent. I think it
sucks.
I think it's coming. And with Roger Goodell getting extended for I think until 2022. I think that's what his contract now goes to. I'm not 100% sure. But with him getting extended again and just, again, making millions upon millions of dollars. I mean, do you realize how much money this guy makes? It's absurd. It is absolutely absurd. And I don't know if the league is in any better standing than when Paul Tagliabue was the NFL
The answer is yes. Not in terms of the relationship with the
financially,
players. That's all they care about.
Yeah, but you can say that based upon inflation alone and based upon rising television contracts. So I don't think he himself has actually done anything. I think his goodwill has all gone out the window. I think people see him for what he is at this point, and it's not a very good guy. And I think the players are right on the mark here. That I don't see any reason why he should be in control of handing out their punishments and their suspensions. It seems almost like it's a direct conflict of interest because at the core, his job is to protect the owners and to sit there and protect the league, right? That's his job, protect the shield. And the players are out there, and the players screw up. I get that. So now you have to hand down some type of disciplinary action. And he comes in, and from what it sounds like with Ezekiel Elliott, it doesn't even sound like there was anything there. It just sounds like it was all kind of just hearsay, And he sits there and suspends the guy for 6 games. So I don't understand how this league is going to go forward with him basically being the Pied Piper and him having all of this control. It just strikes me as a strike is imminent. The players want certain things changed, and I don't know if Goodell is going to sit there and compromise. He seems like he's a guy who likes to play hardball, and he likes to tell you, hey, this is how it is.
Ooh, baby, I can't wait to watch football game number 3. Yeah, you got to figure out how to work your sling and not have this be an issue. Or don't forget, my goodness, man, you got to be able to watch.
Well, I've got it set up now to record all NFL football games.
Oh.
So I will have every single football game from that week that's televised now recorded to my DVR. So I don't know. I sat there and I ended up coming back home on Saturday night and I had like 6 games recorded because NFL Network was airing all of those.
So besides the Lions, which game caught your attention or which storyline in the league has got you going, oh, okay, I can peek into this? Is it with the Dallas Cowboys? Is it with potentially Colin going to the Jacksonville Jaguars? What storyline in the NFL outside of the Lions got you interested?
It was probably the Denver game. That was one I think I spent the most time watching.
So Trevor Siemian is the guy? He's the guy?
Just the quarterback issues that they're having. I mean, Paxton Lynch just
can't win the job.
Doesn't seem to get it. So
starting to talk of BUST a little bit with him. Well, a little bit's kind of going around.
You do have to remember, though, right? It's
early.
It is early, and he was a quarterback who basically played a spread and an option style his entire career. So now you want him to come and get under center? It's a totally different world. So before I label him a bust, I think he needs another year. Maybe then he can understand the offense. You would hope, though, at this point, this is now going into year 2, underneath the same exact offense, he would sit there and he'd start to pick certain things up and be able to put pieces together, and it just doesn't seem like it's clicking for him.
The other storyline that caught my attention is the dirty player that plays over there in Cleveland. My goodness, try to take out OBJ. Come on, did you see that tackle?
I didn't see the tackle. I heard about it, though.
Dirty. You can't go low. Give me a break. I'm
not worried about it.
No, luckily OBJ is going to be okay. But for fans of the Giants, it's unbelievable that both Brandon Marshall and OBJ kind of got walked off the field, not finishing the game. But at the same time, you look at it and players have to play, and there's always a risk each and every time that you play NFL football, you're going to get hurt. Well, looking forward to the start of the NFL football season. It's right around the corner. And this talk has been awesome. Always enjoy talking Detroit Lion football. We're going to take our first time out, come back. We got to talk about the biggest story in sports, what's going to go down this weekend in Las Vegas. Everybody's going to be tuning in. And I want to get your sense regarding this whole ordeal with Conor McGregor and Floyd Money Mayweather right after this.
Football fans, the 13th annual Zenith Prep Kickoff Classic returns to Wayne State University August 24th through the 26th. The Midwest's premier season-opening prep football showcase will be highlighted by 7 must-see games featuring the region's top teams and players. For more information, visit DetroitSports.org. Brought to you by Zenith, an innovative Detroit-based football helmet and equipment manufacturer. UAW Ford, Legacy Football Organization, and Performance Orthopedics. The Prep Kickoff Classic. The season starts here.
Doc and Jock here for Podomatic.com, our host site. When Adam and I first started this project, we were looking for a place to host all of our recorded audio. And thank goodness we found Podomatic. Why do we use Podomatic? Real simple. When Adam and I record a podcast, after a heated debate, verbal warfare, we try and upload our audio as quickly as possible so that all of our supporters can hear it. All across the United States, even across the ocean and internationally, people will message us all the time and say, hey, thanks. We get a chance to catch up and stay abreast as to what's going on in Detroit sports because of your podcast. Why? Because we use a great host site that's been around since 2005. If you're looking to start a brand new project, a brand new podcast, Doc and Jock and all the hosts on this network are going to recommend one host site, Podomatic.com. Doc and Jock, episode 211 rolls along. I don't know if I've ever got your opinion on, what do you think about the fight this upcoming weekend? August 26th, 2017, one of the biggest boxing events, not fights, events, is going to take place on Saturday in Las Vegas. Many people are interested and intrigued, but as the event gets closer, I find my interest just decreasing, not increasing. I'm not really excited for the fight.
Really?
I don't see a scenario outside of Conor just bum rushing the dude and hitting him that he's going to be as technically sound to make this an interesting fight. What's going to be interesting, in my opinion, will be, can he hit that haymaker and knock Floyd down? Is it going to be a setup? Is it going to be something where, something freaky happens or something unusual happens? But otherwise, I just see Floyd dancing and ducking, jabbing, and winning on points in a fight that goes the distance. That's what I see.
See, initially, I was super pumped up for this fight, and not so much that my interest has waned in the preceding months. I mean, I loved the entire, was it like a 4-day junket where they just went from city to city just talking smack to each other? I loved all that. I thought that was absolutely great. At the time, I had Sirius XM, and they were sitting there like airing the stuff live. So I got to hear all of it as it was unfolding in real time, and I was like, oh my God, this is great. But what ended up happening was I started matching dates up, and it turns out I've got a wedding this Saturday, so I'm not going to be able to watch it unless we can sit there and convince the bride and groom to somehow wheel a TV in and us get pay-per-view at the wedding facility.
Yeah, I'm going to be Traverse City.
No idea.
I'm going to be Traverse City on the beach getting drunk, so who knows?
Oh, dude, Traverse City's great. You'll love it.
Yes.
Anyways, no, dude, man, I'm pumped up for this. I think this is going to be good. I'm bummed that I can't watch it live. So I'm going to have to follow along on my phone. I'm going to have to figure something out. I'm still working all the finite details out to be able to sit there and take this fight in. But I'm excited for it.
Just follow Max Kellerman on Twitter. He'll have probably round by round.
For sure. So, but I'm excited for it, man. I think this is going to be great. Yeah, I mean, this is like a once in a lifetime event, man. I mean, look, you've got I guess the hands down best boxer ever. I mean, I don't necessarily think Mayweather's that, but I mean, his record says it, and the guy has never lost. And he puts on a good show versus the mouth of MMA at this point. I love Conor McGregor. I think he's interesting. I think he's fun to watch. So it's going to be fun to see how this fight unfolds. And yeah, I don't think McGregor is on par with Mayweather as far as boxing goes. But I think what McGregor brings to the fight is if he can slip that punch, and that's what this is all riding on, right? If he can slip that punch and knock Mayweather out, oh man, we've got a storyline to talk about. I mean, we've got something right there. And on top of it, let's be honest. Boxing is one of the most dirty and corrupt sports out there. So would it surprise you if Mayweather threw the fight for a couple $1 million? No, not at all.
Oh.
And speaking of that, I mean, have you seen the odds shift in this? I mean, everybody's putting money on McGregor at this point. I mean, it's substantial. It's like 85% money towards McGregor. The guy has no boxing history. He boxed a little bit before he became an MMA fighter, but he wasn't any good. So like everybody's just sitting there anting money up for McGregor. So much so that the initial line for Mayweather was, I think it was like 1,200 to 1. You basically had to put $1,200 up to win $100. It is now down to 400 to 1. I mean, that's huge. That's astronomical. Look at that swing.
Okay, so if you got, if I gave you a bonus check, $500, who are you laying the money on?
Just because of what I could win, I would put it on McGregor. Just because of what I could win. If I was looking for a sure deal, though, I put it on Mayweather.
There can be no scenario in which Conor McGregor wins this fight. You would delegitimize the entire sport of boxing if a UFC fighter walks into that ring and knocks out Floyd Mayweather. You take that entire sport and it's delegitimized if that happens. There is no way that's going to happen because of the fact, I think Floyd took this fight knowing that, when you see the video, you see what's going on. It's an organized boxing event. Now, the whole issue with the gloves being smaller and things like that, it's fine. It's still a boxing event, but I still fully expect that the true boxer, Floyd Mayweather, cannot let a guy like Conor McGregor tag him. And especially if he does, I don't see a scenario in which Conor McGregor is going to be able to get inside enough to land a huge shot on Floyd Mayweather. There's just no way. Floyd's a master. That would be something where it would have to be sustained pressure from Conor, and he'd have to catch Floyd in a mistake. At 40 years old, not having fought in over 20 months, is that likely to happen? Maybe, but I don't see the odds. I just see that I don't dictate anything by what I see in the odds. It's just, what people see that there's a chance to win big money. You take a couple $100, why not do it? You could parlay it into something. Many people look at it as like an entertaining bet. Like, look, if I bet $100, I could win $800 or $400 off of it, where it costs more to bet on Floyd Mayweather. And it would feel good, too, to be on the winning side of a bet where you could say, I bet Conor McGregor in the biggest upset. I don't think people are logically betting that. They're betting it for the excitement, for the rush of saying, hey, I bet on this long shot and got some money back for it. There's no way, if you're logical, you bet any money on Conor McGregor. I don't see it happening. Everybody that's a professional has said that Floyd's going to win. Conor's not anywhere near Floyd's league. Conor cannot handle this. This is not going to be something that's going to be even pretty to watch. Nobody has said that, other than a puncher's chance, that Conor can really do anything. And I'm just going to take that stance that I believe Floyd's professionalism, his vast experience of boxing, is going to elevate this performance in this card. So I think that Floyd's experience and his, moxie in the ring will carry him through the fight. And I don't see a scenario even where if it goes to a decision, and even if Conor wins the fight by the naked eye, there's no way judges are going to let a UFC fighter walk in there and take the win. I don't see it.
Here's the thing, 8-ounce gloves doesn't make a difference. Right. Mayweather fought Pacquiao with 8-ounce gloves.
There you go.
So it doesn't even make a difference. But I think you're right. Look, the only thing Conor's got going for him is he's got a puncher's chance, right? And I don't even know if he's got enough to sit there and land that punch that he needs to knock Mayweather out.
Should this fight really be happening? And you look at it because, and I ask,
no, probably not.
It shouldn't, right? It seems like
it's two different worlds.
I felt like boxing, with all the distractions, with all of the controversy, was still kind of above this. It's kind of taking...
It's a circus.
Yeah, it's taking a turn toward the WWE, and it's taking a turn toward the entertainment value. And in the end, I know logically that the sports world and anything in general in the world is going to turn toward what the people want. For example, if they knew they could get 5 million buys, they would have Brock Lesnar box Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah, absolutely.
So to know that, though, makes you go, well, they've kind of bastardized the sport. They've done it for money. They're doing it for greed. They're not doing it for the competitive nature. But then smart people will say, look, in the game of life and in a capitalistic society, in a sporting society, you got to give the people what they want. And if 4 million to 5 million people are going to hunker down $100 to watch this fight, you got to give it. So you can talk about the authenticity of it. We can debate that. But at the same time, you have to recognize the reason why this fight's happening is everybody's getting paid and everybody's getting a lot of money, and everybody in the end will walk to their closed circles, their hotel rooms, cash huge checks, and all we're hoping for. And I hope that Floyd's not just selling the fight by saying he's going to come forward, which he has said in the last few rounds of press junkets. He said, I'm going to fight because I disappointed the fans with the Manny Pacquiao fight. I'm coming to fight. I hope he's right, because if he does come to fight, at least it'll be entertaining. And I think it might even be more shocking should Floyd knock out Conor McGregor. That would be something to see.
That would be shocking. That would be absolutely shocking.
If he comes in there and ready and outboxes him and and outboxes Conor McGregor, jabs, sets up some nice things and knocks him out. That'd be something to see as well. That'd be kind of awesome.
But what if Conor does last 12 rounds? What if he lasts 12 rounds and it does go to a decision? And I know you already said that you don't see any way that the judges sit there and favor McGregor in this because it would delegitimize boxing in general. But what would that say about boxing overall? If a guy who has never sat there and boxed went up against, pound for pound, the greatest boxer of all time, the one guy who has never lost, never had a defeat, and sat there and just went 12 rounds with him.
I don't think it would say much because of the fact that Floyd's gone the distance with a lot of fighters. He's a defensive fighter. That's what he's known for.
Right.
So that might be his strategy, is just to use his conditioning, try to defend, last, and not knock out people. At the same time, maybe now at his later stage, he wants to go out with a grand performance, and he can do that much more with an opponent like Conor McGregor. So that's where my thoughts are with it, is that I think Floyd knows that if I want to do some things and test some things out, I could do it versus Conor McGregor. He might not even know the difference.
See, I think it elevates MMA that much more. I think at this point, there was a time period where MMA and boxing were neck and neck with each other. MMA in recent years has surpassed boxing by far. And whether it's UFC on Fox and just the overall dispersion of just ultimate fighting, MMA has gone light years ahead of where boxing is. Boxing is now so far in the rearview mirror. I think if Conor McGregor is able to step in the ring with Floyd Mayweather, and doesn't necessarily have to win, but if he can sit there and withstand 12 rounds with him and send it to the judges, I think you just elevate MMA that much further, and you just distance boxing by that much more. Because I think you now have basically your number one guy, right? Conor McGregor is the face of MMA at this time, right? You have him going up against the face of what is boxing, and that's Floyd Mayweather. And he just sat there, walked into a sport where he doesn't train for it. He's not necessarily conditioned for it. He doesn't sit there, and he's not a classically trained fighter, and he just went 12 rounds with your best guy. Your best guy. And I don't care that your best guy is 40. I don't care that your best guy hasn't fought in 20 months. This guy has never lost a match in his lifetime. The UFC's guy just went in there and hung with him for 12 straight rounds. I think at that point, MMA is just out of this world. Like you're on Mars, while boxing is somewhere back over by Mercury, Venus. You know what I'm saying? It's just like light years away from each other.
Okay, a couple quick questions and percentages. What percentage it's a good fight, people walk away saying, yeah, worth every penny of the $100 I spent?
20%.
Okay, what percentage do you see of any scandal? Wrong decision, quick stoppage, something along the lines of something nefarious going on? What percentage chance you see any controversy?
75%.
Yeah, you see something going down, right?
Yes. I'm skeptical, so yeah, 75%.
No doubt. And then what percentage you give Conor to actually win the fight?
I'm going to give him 15%. I don't actually, like you said, if it goes to the judges, I don't think he wins. The only way he wins this fight is if it's somewhere within the first 4 rounds, he catches him with like a right hook. That's the only way I see it.
5% max.
He's got to knock him out.
5% max. I think the hype surrounding the fight will be much better than the fight actually delivers. I'm not spending $100 at the most, maybe an entrance fee. Would you pay? Some of the prices have been pretty fair. At bars, I think $50 gets you a seat, some appetizers, some fixins with it. $30 doesn't get you a seat, but gets you in the house at most places.
No, I wouldn't pay for that. I wouldn't pay for that. No. See, the thing is, I would much rather have like 5 or 6 friends come over, all of us chip in like $20, and everybody brings some snacks, and I'll throw something out there for us to eat. That's what I would much rather do. That's
what I think a lot of people are doing too. But at the same time, there is no vibe like being out in the public. And if something nefarious goes on or something awesome happens, like Conor actually wins it, to be in a bar setting.
Here's a question for you. I've got like HBO Go, right?
Yeah.
Would there be any way I can get this on HBO Go? Because it's a pay-per-view, right?
Yeah, but I don't know if it's an HBO pay-per-view, but at the same time, if it is an HBO pay-per-view, next week after, it'll air.
Get it.
You can watch it after. That's the key, is that anything that airs on pay-per-view is usually shown on Showtime or pay-per-view. Anything that's shown.
This is a Showtime fight, right? Because Showtime's doing all the promotion for it.
So it's a Showtime fight?
It's a Showtime fight.
Next week it'll be on Showtime.
Okay. All right.
It's just a week later.
I got you.
That's how they do it.
I was just trying to figure out a way maybe I could like stream the
No.
fight and watch it like while I'm at the
obviously,
sweating.
if you know any nefarious people who check out things on the internet, you could find streaming and find it free, but you might have to,
You're the most nefarious guy I know, so what do you know?
But not for boxing. Not anymore nowadays.
You sent me a tweet the other day with a whole bunch of nefarious stuff.
Did you look at it?
No, I haven't had a chance.
Okay. I don't know if it's still there. Yeah. if you know what I'm talking about, the latest celebrity leak, I definitely send Adam. And that was the site that has been sued by a lot of people. That, I guess, is the site that is causing all these problems that gets. And the best part is really not the pictures. The best part of that site is like the Muslim references that they the write-up, the mock-up.
You love that. I don't know why.
Fun. No, because it's funny. It's a comedy writing. It's like,
it's a lot of satire.
It's a lot of satire talking about Tiger Woods and Lindsey Vonn. So, I definitely saw it. I was like, oh, hell no.
You're always looking.
Yeah, always peeking.
You're the first one to look at that stuff. Dude, I'm terrified to look at that stuff because they can sit there and track your IP address. Now, I know I didn't put it up there, but I had one lawsuit where there was an issue with a BitTorrent and some other stuff going on, and there was one lawsuit that got mailed to my house, and that got thrown out, and then there was another lawsuit that got mailed to my house, and that one got thrown out too, so thank God I had no issues there, but it scared me straight, let's put it that way.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And, at this point in time, in 2017, if you're doing nefarious things on your phone, somebody's going to see it. So I can respect the fact that you don't want to do that.
How come people take so many naked pictures of themselves?
And the pose that Tiger took, too, is weird, too, because who stands there and takes that picture? Not even, Captain Morgan pose, just straight on. Straight on. There it is. You can't miss it.
Like, hey, babe.
Yeah. You're like, oh, you don't even get a chance to hide or, like, scroll up to see. You don't know. It's just right there. So
I don't understand why everybody's got so many naked pictures on their phone. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know. I'm not one to take naked. I don't know. I'm not happy with my body, so I'm not taking all those naked pictures. You know what I'm saying? Like the most naked I get in front of anybody is when I change in the hockey locker room. That's about it. All right, let's take our final timeout. Come back. My favorite segment of the week, the Doc and Jock Pro-Wrestling Report. A lot of wrestling was watched over the last 3 days. Exciting times, and there is a new direction for WWE after SummerSlam, and we'll talk about it and recap SummerSlam, Raw, and SmackDown coming up next. Thanks to everybody that's been supporting the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. The free and easy way to help us keep this project rolling along is visit our website, DetroitSportsPodcast.com. It's where you can go to see who's hosting what show when, where you can go to click through the Amazon banner to take care of all your online shopping needs. Should you want to buy tickets to any sporting event in the Metro Detroit area, definitely check out DetroitSportsPodcast.com. Thanks to everybody that supported Vito and the Churko and Company softball game. Thanks to everybody that supported Adam in his awareness and raising funds for mental health. That's what really makes the project fruitful, is when we can grow a supporter base and when we can say, hey, support this cause, support mental health, support Make-A-Wish. And Adam raised over $6,000. Vito raised over $2,000. That's $8,000 raised in over a month. And that's just based on your loyal support and those that support everybody here at the network. And we greatly appreciate it. To continue to help us roll out these great podcasts and to help the Detroit Sports Podcast Network, definitely check out all the happenings at DetroitSportsPodcast.com. What a week. You're a supporter of AJ Styles. It was an amazing week. My goodness, man. SummerSlam, Raw, SmackDown. There was an NXT event on Saturday. 4 amazing days in Brooklyn. It was unbelievable. And when Drew McIntyre, just to recap NXT real fast, when he won the belt, right away, we all knew. All the marks knew Rude was coming to WWE, baby, and it was just a matter of time. Was it going to be Raw, which they teased amazingly, saying, oh, Bobby Roode's backstage at Raw, and then he actually did debut on SmackDown. So I love the way that NXT does it, where there are some things you know, and then they actually deliver, which is good because you don't exactly know which brand the superstar is going to show up on. So I loved NXT. It's just unfortunate that a couple injuries have marred, this week. A couple people that were in line for some strong pushes are out with injuries, including Big Cass with the torn ACL and Asuka, who has just been on a tear this last year in terms of the women's division from NXT, and she's out for now the better part of several weeks with a shoulder injury, clavicle. She broke her clavicle, right one, out at least 6 weeks, they're speculating. But here's the thing. So NXT is set up to do a taping here, so they'll sit there and they'll tape 4 episodes. So she'll probably miss all of that, and then she'll come back after, and she should be good. She can come out, cut a promo. It'll all work out fine for her, but the big one is Big Cass. He's going to be out about 9 months with a torn ACL. Unbelievable. We were talking before we started. We all knew when you look at that move that he does where he runs into the ropes and does a big, huge leg kick and flings himself over the top rope,
I'm utterly shocked that he hasn't been hurt trying to do that. And really what's worse is when you see it, if us as the audience watches and goes, ooh, that looks dangerous, why isn't a writer saying, look, scale that back? All you got to do is stick your big foot up and stop. That's all you got to do. Why are you flinging yourself over the ropes? Your money. Sometimes I think that the whole notion of work rate and getting the audience to say, holy shit, or to do that kind of thing to get the audience on your side is a little bit overrated if you're a wrestler. Because now you're Big Cass, you're on the verge of being the guy. Maybe not this year, but early next year probably would have been in line to compete. He would have been in line to be one of the last couple guys to stand in the Royal Rumble. Dude is massive. Now you're out for 9 months at 31 years old. It delays your push, and it's really unfortunate because, again, it was a throwaway match. You didn't need another match versus Enzo to really push this along. I thought it could have been avoided, and I really think it's negligent on WWE's part for them to tell him, look, don't do this move. This move is going to, I would say, 50% chance that he was going to get hurt doing that move in the next year.
Didn't Diesel or Kevin Nash, whatever you want to refer to him as, didn't he have a move like that where he just basically put the big boot up, you ran into it, and you fell over?
No, what he'd do is he put the opponent in the corner and then stick his foot, hold on to the rope and stick his foot up in the guy's face.
Do something like that.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do.
Exactly.
That move, I don't know. Every time he would sit there and he'd fall over the rope, I'd always be like, oh my God, he's going to die. Like you get there's such propensity for something crazy to happen and to go wrong. And now, look, you're sidelined 9 months, and you had they basically strapped a rocket to your back, and they were ready to shoot you to the stars, and now you're going to be delayed, and you're going to be put back. So now you're going to have to sit there, and you're going to have to basically come up against whoever else is now getting pushed when you come back in 9 months.
Before we get into our SummerSlam recap, don't you think, though, at some point, the WWE gives you an opportunity, and they profile you, and they let you fall on your face, or they let you take off, and I feel like they gave him that. They gave him that massive push, but his promos haven't been that great since the initial one. The match with Big Show at SummerSlam was really disappointing, and it just feels like that the push kind of would have fallen flat because it wasn't the right time for Big Cass to be pushed. He needed one more year. He needed that second year on the roster, build up the promo game. He needed to stick with that tag team, win a title, have an opportunity to have some feuds with the Hardy Boys, with the Revival, the Ascension maybe if they came over, other quality tag teams. That way you can build up your promo game. They should have potentially ended that tag team, Enzo and Cass, probably early 2018, then give him the push with more experience. So now it's one of those situations where he's out. It's unfortunate. It could have been prevented, but early reviews would dictate that they gave him a push too soon.
I agree with you 100%. What I never got was you had two guys who sat there and sold a lot of merchandise, were super over with the crowd. They never got a legit shot at a title run. They never won a championship, and they never got, I guess, that tag team push that you would expect them to get. There was no reason you couldn't sit there and let them go another year, especially because this wrestling organization, the WWE, the Monday Night Raw and the SmackDown universes, they need tag teams. That's the one place where they're lacking. NXT has them, but Monday Night Raw and SmackDown are lacking tag teams. You could have sat there, you could have let these guys go on a little bit of a run, put the belts on them, let them do their thing. And again, the whole time you're grooming Cass, you're putting him over, you're making him look big. What ended up happening was they'd go out there, Enzo would start the match, Enzo would get his face pounded into the mat, make the hot tag to Cass, Cass would come in, clean up the mess, and then it was either a win or it was a loss. It was the same tired routine. You had no character building. You never gave Cass the actual refinement that he needed. And then in the end, you've got Enzo who runs his mouth backstage, and now he's going to end up on 205 Live.
So from our talk before the show started, I get a sense that you might not have been enamored with SummerSlam as much as I was.
No, not at all.
Really?
Not at all.
I thought it was a 5-hour extravaganza. I enjoyed it.
I thought it had a couple good matches, and then I thought there was some filler in the middle. Like the
What disappointed you the most?
So I just some of the brevity of some of the matches. I mean, look, Randy Orton and Rusev, it was basically a 10-second match, and I had no idea why they were even fighting, right? This was basically two guys who got thrown together because we needed to put them on. That was it. So you give them a 10-second match, like legit, it was 10 seconds. That includes the 1, 2, 3. Then you've got John Cena destroying Baron Corbin. Now, I hate Baron Corbin, and I love John Cena. So I'm okay with the way that kind of shook out. But again, you've now just buried a guy.
Exactly.
Like legitimately, you buried him.
My notes say Corbin stock way down. Why are you having John Cena if he's going to leave SmackDown and go over to Raw? Why are you having John Cena win? You could have just definitely reversed the decision. Have Baron Corbin win the matchup. I mean, shoot, it's kind of cool maybe to have a streak in the other direction. At that point in time, John Cena had 6 matches in a row where he lost. He could have just had a storyline where he couldn't win at SummerSlam, and maybe his very final SummerSlam, in reverse of the Undertaker streak where he had 21 wins in a row or 24, whatever it was, before he lost. Maybe Cena could have had 12 SummerSlam losses before he got his victory. It would have been a huge deal.
Right. And you could have won a belt on that SummerSlam. It had been
that would have been cool, right?
Yeah.
A reverse storyline. That would have been cool. But no, he wins, and it was an okay match. Yeah, nothing really to write home about. More along the lines of what they think about Corbin, and he's kind of on a downturn.
He's got some work to do to get back to where he once was. I didn't really care for the Jinder Nakamura match. Again, it's the same formula over and over and over. The Singh brothers will interfere. Jinder will sit there and win despicably, and that's it. And I don't need to see it anymore.
But wasn't the shock of Jinder Mahal keeping the title really worth it? Because, yeah, we wanted to see a classic, but right now, Shinsuke needs a little bit more time to get in there and work with some of these guys. I don't know if he needs to do more house shows or what's going on, but there just hasn't been that chemistry yet with a lot of these matches. But I thought the shock value of Jinder kept the belt. And I thought, that's masterful because of the fact that Shinsuke is such a big name. Now you elevate Jinder Mahal even more. I thought after that match and then seeing him on SmackDown, I go, wow, Shinsuke made Jinder Mahal. That's the purpose, as well as when you can elevate a guy using a new talent, it doesn't hurt Shinsuke. That dude is over. He's gonna be on that.
He's super over.
He's super over. He's gonna be that way. I think until WrestleMania.
I don't care that he lost. That's not the deal. I just think the match itself. Yeah. And more to your point, look, Nakamura has had a few matches that have just looked
sloppy.
Yes, very flat. There's not the in-ring work is not very good. Look, his match against John Cena, incredible. I thought it was great. I thought it was an outstanding match. His match against Baron Corbin, awful. I wanted to eat a bullet. His match against Jinder,
So.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and I think that speaks more to the guys that he might be working with, not necessarily him. He can only do so much. You know, I mean, you go into this match with Baron Corbin, and if Baron Corbin doesn't want to sit there and listen to what he's telling him, or Baron Corbin's not getting what he wants to do, the match is going to look disjointed.
I think I told you this last week, where I was having this discussion with somebody where I said, at this point in time, I think me personally, with all the wrestling that I've watched in my life, having watched wrestling now for over 30 years, that for me, I'm more into the storylines than the matchup in itself, because it's just headlocks, it's psychology, it's things like that. So for me, I'm more into who's over.
Build a storyline.
Build a storyline. But for me, I'm not invested so much anymore in terms of the moves. There's a couple moves that'll make you go, wow, and things like that. But I'm more invested in who's over, who's on the proper trajectory to a title. What's the win-loss record mean for that wrestler? And so the behind-the-scenes stuff is more interesting for me at this point in time. So for me, I didn't even really pay attention to the matchup. I'm just like, oh, wow. The fact that Jinder has the belt still superseded whatever happened in the match. And I felt like, you know what? That was a really good idea behind the scenes to have some of Shinsuke Nakamura's popularity and to have him really put over Jinder Mahal. I thought it was a great idea.
See, I think that's the difference between being a WWE audience and somebody else. And I would really love for you to sit down, and maybe me and you can get together one day and we can sit down and we could watch some New Japan.
New Japan, and Ring of Honor. And all, yeah.
It's different.
It's different, yeah.
Because I'm the same way. With WWE, I'm very into whatever the storyline is, whatever the build is.
Yeah.
The in-ring stuff, I'm usually working on something for our show, or I'm doing 900 other things, and it's just kind of on as background noise, and I just kind of look up, okay, cool, look back down, doing something else. If a big move happens, I'll rewind the TV, and then I'll pick it back up. Yes. But it's kind of secondary. When I watch a New Japan show or an ROH show,
you're looking at the intricacies of the moves.
It's just, dude, the match, you're hooked by the match. And again, back to the psychology of the in-ring work. They're working over body parts. They're telling a story. I mean, there's so much more going on that the story is interesting. What got you to this point is interesting, but what's going on in the ring, it's captivating and it keeps you hooked.
So to summarize that point, you feel like the in-ring product of Ring of Honor, New Japan, is a lot better than in WWE at this point in time.
Yes.
And the overall presentation, the entertainment, the story writing, just the overall package, just because of the fact it's a huge company with a lot of resources and a huge staff, that's what makes WWE a lot better in terms of the overall presentation of the camera work, the in-ring writing, the writing staff, the fact that you can create characters and do a lot more with it because of the fact you have so much much larger budget and staff.
I think the presentation of the overall product is better with WWE.
Crisp and clean, and you can watch it over and over.
I think the writing is absolute shit on WWE, though. I think they could stand to learn something from New Japan. New Japan does a great job telling their stories and building their stories, and that's what kind of keeps you hooked. I mean, look, pretty soon we're going to have Omega Okada 4, and I think that's going to be for all the marbles. Wow. And I'm hooked. I can't wait for it. I've already had 3 matches that have been incredible, right? And now I'm waiting for one more. Like, look, last night when they were sitting there and they were basically rehashing Kevin Owens, AJ Styles, I was like, okay, I'm tired of it already.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, Nakamura and Jinder. It's like, I don't need to see it.
I have a point to bring up when we talk about Raw and SmackDown regarding what happens after pay-per-views that is hindering the product, no doubt about it. Real quickly, recap the pre-show. It was really embarrassing to put The Miz on the pre-show in an empty house. If you want to do them on a pre-show, if you want to have 3 matches, you just do them in like 10-minute to 12-minute spurts in the 6 o'clock hour. Nobody needs to match between 5 and 6. The 5 and 6 o'clock hour can be exclusively previews, promos, hyping up the matches that are upcoming and things like that, teasing out future events and stuff like that. All the wrestling should take place in the 6 o'clock hour. It's embarrassing when The Miz is outside of the ring and there's one guy taking a picture. It's embarrassing. And he did reference it in a promo on Monday Night Raw.
I was going to ask you, did you like his promo?
Oh, it was amazing.
He was scathing.
He should be pissed. You don't put The Miz, the Intercontinental Champion, on the first match at 5:10 when nobody's around and you have an empty house and people are there tweeting it. It's just embarrassing. But the Usos saved the pre-show. It was amazing. They had a quality match versus the New Day. And if you listen to our previous podcast, I called it. I had a feeling the Usos were going to take the belt back and it was said on SmackDown, they're just the best tag team in the world right now. The Usos got the hype. They got the look. Their wrestling is impeccable. It was great for them to regain the title at SummerSlam. Yep, we talked about John Cena opening SmackDown. I thought it was great. Having Natalya win the belt was amazing. I thought, finally, pay it off. It's about time she gets that win, and she gets to finally hold the title, and hopefully she has a run. The fact that they played it off with Naomi crying made it even amazing. You had a stinker of a match with Big Cass. I thought that was entirely garbage. You didn't need that at all. To have Enzo escape and then have him get punched out or kicked out within 2 seconds later made it ridiculously stupid. And then, obviously, we talk about the squash match with Randy Orton. I believe that happened because you wanted to give some primetime minutes to the last 2 matches or some other matches as well. I thought that, one of the highlights was seeing the Demon. I thought that, wow, unbelievable entrance. It was cool to see because we haven't seen it. Somebody on our Twitter page brought up a good point in that by announcing it on Raw, it might have taken a little bit away from the entrance, but it was still amazing to see, and it was awesome that they replayed it on the WWE social media platform. But the Demon character is one that's just guaranteed money.
The entrance is outstanding. The one thing I think that needs to change, and yeah, I do think by announcing it ahead of time, you kind of took some of the shine off of it. If he would have sat there and he'd have been a surprise, oh my God, that place would have been ecstatic, right? Even more so than it already was. I think something has to change with his in-ring presentation, the way he wrestles. There's got to be something that's a little bit different than what Finn Balor does, right? I mean, whether or not he uses the coup de grace or whether he doesn't do his running double foot kick, he's got to change his presentation style. I think if you do that, you make the Demon character that much more special. By sitting there and wrestling the same exact way normal Finn Balor wrestles, it kind of loses some of what it could be. It could be that much more over if he tweaked it a little bit.
Sasha Banks won the title. I didn't like her entrance. I thought whatever that was that she was carrying looked stupid. But at the same time, it was a good matchup. She deserves to win. Obviously, having the tag team of the Shield becoming the Raw Tag Team Champions was awesome. It was a quality matchup. It was really nice to see. Good wrestling. And the match that I obviously highlighted was AJ Styles. I thought having AJ have 2 Styles clashes, the chemistry with Shane McMahon as the referee played it out perfectly. It was a great matchup, very entertaining. And then the co-main event and main event really delivered. I thought Shinsuke losing was awesome, the shock value alone. And then I thought the main event alone made the pay-per-view. If you don't see the Fatal 4-Way...
That's what saved SummerSlam.
It was intense. It was awesome. The way they came up with it in terms of having Brock Lesnar getting destroyed by Braun Strowman and then having him, get the third table thrown on him, having him do that X sign, which made you believe that it might have been a real injury, and to have him come back. I thought each man got his stuff in there. each person you had a legitimate thought could win the title. And so to execute a fatal four-way like that, I thought it was just an A-plus match, a match of the year candidate, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I thought the fatal four-way was great. Again, it's
awesome.
It's
what awesome.
Saved SummerSlam for me.
Yeah.
I don't know why the third table isn't the WWE Universal Galactic Champion. I mean, he sat there. He counted Brock Lesnar out, right?
That was awesome.
So, yeah, no, I thought it was great. I thought it helped build the storyline that we're now looking at on Raw. Strowman comes out to open up Raw. He looks strong. He crushes Brock Lesnar. Just absolutely destroys him. And now that sets up for No Mercy, which is coming up. So I think that's going to be awesome right there.
No Mercy, must-watch main event. Now we transition to talking about Monday Night Raw, and I thought the opening was, again, spectacular. Paul Heyman, his promo game is on point. Anybody would die to have him to be the advocate. Brock Lesnar being so over with the crowd was awesome. You have Braun Strowman's surprise, and the look that Brock gave when Strowman came out was awesome. You have Strowman again, 2 running power slams, and he walks out, and people are legitimately believing, probably at No Mercy, there's a chance a title change happens.
Dude, Brock Lesnar is big, mean, and fierce looking, right?
Yes.
Braun Strowman looks bigger, meaner, and fiercer, which blows my mind because I don't think I've ever thought that I could see a guy who was more intense than Brock Lesnar.
That's awesome, right?
And you've got Braun Strowman.
Braun's the guy.
I'm a huge Braun Strowman fan.
We all are.
From a guy who I sat there and I thought wasn't going to get it and was getting a push for no good reason. Dude, he has opened my mind, opened my eyes, and I've been on this guy's train now for, I don't know what, the last 8-9 months now. It's just super over. I want him to win so bad.
Let me hit you with this.
Okay.
So after that amazing segment, the rest of that 8 o'clock hour was absolute dog shit. Enzo and Cass again, Emma, R-Truth, and Elias filled out that first hour. And I was like, that was pretty awful. And then I go, okay, 9 o'clock hits, and who shows up? It's John Cena. And I thought, oh, here we go. He calls out Roman Reigns.
Which I thought was great.
It was great.
Who do you hate more?
Who do you hate more? But then they took a turn by having The Miz interject. I understand why and how you could set up the main event. I thought it was okay to do it that way. It just went a little long at 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. That 9 o'clock segment, I thought you could have took it another direction by just having Roman Reigns and John Cena kick off their feud, but instead you took a little bit of a twist and have Miz really go off and run an amazing promo.
So do you think it's going to be John Cena and Samoa Joe now for the next couple weeks, and then they'll loop back around to John Cena, Roman Reigns? Do you think that's going to happen?
That'd be nice. Maybe get a little bit of rub off there at the same time.
Because Joe came out and he basically got in Cena's face. Yep. And he essentially called him out as Cena was calling Reigns out.
It was great. I thought the crowd was amazing. And something I want to ask you, because some people have taken a different stance with some of the crowds that get a little bit ruckus. But I feel like Samoa Joe needs a little bit of a different direction as well. It's kind of like his heat after, the last couple of pay-per-views hasn't been that strong. He's kind of been like a mid-card guy, but a solid upper mid-card guy.
Well, you lose to Brock, and then you lose in the Fatal 4-Way. I mean, when's this guy going to win a match?
Exactly. You need to have Samoa Joe win some matches, and I feel like this is a guy that deserves to be in some of the main event stuff, but maybe at the same time, I wouldn't have had Miz and Samoa Joe be on the same side. I would have had Samoa Joe, look, perfect time right now for Samoa Joe is to try and get that Intercontinental title. I feel like Samoa Joe and The Miz should kick off a program right now, and that would be pretty awesome.
I think that would be good. I mean, look, I think The Miz can work with just about anybody. He's a guy who's really developed his own skills, and his mic work is incredible. Samoa Joe's mic work is incredible. Every time Joe talks, it leaves you basically hanging on every single word because of his intensity, the way he punctuates his words, and the way he sits there and uses vocabulary just to sit there and drive his point home. And then his in-ring work is, I know you don't like the punch, but I think his in-ring work is great.
And now some people are calling the fans disrespectful because they were throwing around a beach ball. It was basically a Monday after WrestleMania kind of crowd, and I loved it. I loved the fact they were just chanting whatever. I loved the fact that they were trying to get themselves involved, doing the wave, throwing their beach ball.
I love that John Cena was doing it too in the ring. I thought that was great.
Yeah, the fans were chanting, "We want beach ball," when security took it away. And some people were like, "No, look."
They gave the beach ball back.
Yeah, some people were like, "Look, these guys are flinging their bodies around." You had Finn Balor and Jason Jordan having a first-time matchup, and the crowd is going apeshit doing whatever. So I say, look.
But wait, hold on. What does that speak to? That speaks to them not being interested in the storylines. And again, that's back to bad writing.
No, I don't think so.
Booking.
No, I think that now
It was good writing, good booking. You would pay attention.
I think it speaks to the importance.
And it's a 3-hour-long show.
It speaks to the importance of WrestleMania and SummerSlam, that now the crowds after at the same venue are smart marks. There are people that know all this already. These aren't just the run-of-the-mill guys. These are like the marks. So the marks come in, they know all this stuff already. They know that Finn Balor's on a trajectory for success. They know all this, so they want to go and have a party. And so I feel like WWE needs to play up to that, and really what John Cena did, just play up to it, have a good time, do your wrestling match. The crowd's just going to do whatever they want. And in the end, you can't control 40,000 people. If you take away a beach ball, they're just going to chant, "We want beach ball." You know, and didn't you love the fact that they chanted, "You both suck" to Cena and Roman?
Oh yeah, I thought that was great.
Yeah,
it started off with "You suck," then it was "John Cena sucks," and then it was "You both suck." It was great.
Those are the best crowds, when they're either cheering or booing or they're doing the wrong chant. It's awesome. I felt like it made the opening segment where they were cheering their heads off for Brock Lesnar. I thought that crowd. I feel like crowds should be able to do whatever they want. And for those journalists that say that the crowd's being disrespectful by not following along with the action, look, these guys are going to wrestle. They can do their moves, but they need to play along with whatever's going on. I thought the main event was good. It was solid wrestling. I felt all along that Raw, in the end, after a SummerSlam, was okay. It did have a lot of moments that led me to go, ugh, there are a lot of characters here in a 3-hour show that probably don't need to be on it.
You have NXT, which was, a 2-hour event on Saturday. Then you have SummerSlam, which was a 5-hour event on Sunday. Then you've got 3 hours of Raw on Monday. And then you follow that up with 2 hours on Tuesday for SmackDown. Dude, that's a lot of wrestling, and that crowd was there for pretty much all of it. So if they lose their interest and they go a little crazy, I get it. Do you know what I'm saying? And on top of it, I think the 3-hour program's got to change, and I think some of the storylines got to get better. But overall, I thought this Raw was decent. I thought it was pretty good. The whole John Cena Roman Reigns angle, I really liked it. I popped super hard. Again, I'm a huge John Cena fan. I think Roman Reigns is good. I think he gets a bad rap. I don't like his mic work, but I like his in-ring work, and I think he does a decent enough job. So I was super pumped about that, and the crowd being into it like they were, going from "You suck" to "John Cena sucks" to "You both suck," I thought was great.
Now, talking about SmackDown, just highlighted by the debut of Bobby Roode. That made the entire night. It was great to see. His entrance was awesome. He's fully embraced the glorious character. He utilizes it amazingly in terms of getting the crowd to say, doesn't overdo it. It was a glorious entrance for Bobby Roode, and I felt like, dude, this guy is money. 40 years old. He's in his prime now. He's ready to rock and roll, and he looked the part. He's in shape. He's chiseled. He's got all the wrestling moves you could want, and you could enter him into a myriad of storylines that are going to make money. It's great to have Bobby Roode on the main roster. I thought it highlighted an okay SmackDown. I felt like it was nice to have a couple of surprises with Shelton Benjamin coming. You didn't have some of the typical matchups that you thought you would. I thought that they would definitely redo Nakamura and Jinder Mahal. Instead, you have Nakamura take on the Singh brothers, and you have Nakamura squash the Singh brothers, which was much needed. But a point of contention that I want to bring up, which the WWE has to get away from immediately as soon as possible, is this notion of the automatic rematch. The automatic rematch clause makes the Raws and SmackDowns after repetitive.
Yes.
Like, I don't want to see Alexa Bliss and Sasha Banks. I want pay-per-views sometimes, or I want Raw matches to be finales.
Yeah, it should be the final.
It should be it. It should be the thing. Or
and then when you go to that Monday or that Tuesday, start something new.
Or if you want to revisit a feud, like 3 months later, give us a little break.
Yeah.
Like, you damn near had us dying with Sami Zayn fighting Kevin Owens 40 times.
Yeah.
You can't have these automatic rematch clauses. Or if you want to have the opponent that lost have a rematch, he gets a rematch, but it has to be after 30 days. They got to wait.
Yeah.
They got to wrestle. They got to do something else, get into a mini feud for a month. Then if they want to cash it in, you just got to wait. You just like a Money in the Bank, a perpetual Money in the Bank, in that it doesn't have to be 30 days. You can call in a title match or a rematch with anybody, even if the person loses the title. You get a rematch, but you just got to wait 30 days. Just let us breathe. Let us relax a little bit. Like, if they would not have had AJ Styles and Kevin Owens fight on SmackDown, I would have been okay. I would have been okay with just AJ Styles coming out saying, this is the house I built. There's nobody in this roster that can come out and handle anything that I got. And boom, Bobby Roode comes out. You have a stare down, and you tease that a little bit.
That'd been cool.
You could have been something different.
You know, so Baron Corbin, right? Let's go back to Baron Corbin.
That was great. I thought he did great.
Oh, well, here's the thing, though, right?
As special referee.
Kevin Owens comes out, does his little challenge. He wants to pick the referee, ends up picking Baron Corbin because Corbin's like, well, if you sit there and you win, then I get the first dib to sit there and go after your belt. It was an open challenge. Baron Corbin could have just came out.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I would have been much happier with that than having the whole thing with Kevin Owens.
Yes, exactly.
But you got to build the Shane McMahon angle, which, why? We don't always need McMahons in the angles.
Or you could have had a superstar from Raw come over to SmackDown.
Yeah.
You could have done a little surprise
Anything.
there. Anything at all would have been better than having another Kevin Owens match, I thought.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you could have had somebody from Raw come over and threaten to sit there, win the U.S. title, and then take it back to Raw. That'd have been interesting.
The Usos squashed the Hype Brothers. I thought that was awesome as well. I know the Hype Brothers are trying to get back into the swing of things, but the Usos are just an amazing tag team. I thought that overall SmackDown was good. I like the fact that Shelton Benjamin's back, and he's going to tag. He's going to come back.
Shelton.
Yep, he's going to come back and tag with Chad Gable next week, and it's going to lead.
What do you think about that?
I think it's good. I think that Chad Gable's a tag team superstar. You need someone maybe like a Shelton Benjamin to help Chad get to the next level. An experienced vet, which is good.
See, I like Chad Gable. I think at some point the money with him will be as a singles competitor.
Yep.
But I think for right now you team him with Shelton. You let Shelton kind of, I guess, walk him along the way and help him out. But I think it'll be interesting to see what they do with Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin. I think the money, though, with that Jason Jordan, Chad Gable tag team, I think it was Chad Gable, and I think they missed their mark by going with Jason Jordan.
Before we get out of here, last bit of news and notes regarding the Nature Boy. What's up?
So Nature Boy's doing much better. Last week when I had reported that it was due to his colon, it came out a few days later that was incorrect. He had multiple organ failure, and that's what was going on. His organs were basically dying on him, so they had a lot of different surgeries. He's doing much better now. Again, like we said last week, each day that he's alive and he's awake, he's getting further and further away from death's door. So it's good. He's doing much better at this point. Question for you. Have you watched Southpaw Regional Wrestling Season 2? You watched Season 1?
I've never even heard of it. What is this?
Okay.
Southpaw Regional Wrestling?
Yes. So Southpaw Regional Wrestling is WWE's comedic take on a regional wrestling program that took place in the South in 1987. Apparently, they found a old VHS tape of bits from the Southpaw Regional Wrestling program from 1987. Basically, it's John Cena as Lance Catamaran. He's the announcer. It's hilarious.
Where's it air on?
You can find it on YouTube.
Okay.
Or you can find it on the network.
Okay.
You need to check it out. Check out Season 1 and then go right into Season 2.
Nice.
I watched all of Season 2 yesterday. It was phenomenal. It's basically the wrestling guys doing different bits. So you've got Tyler Breeze is the moneymaker, and basically he's like Ted DiBiase, but he doesn't wrestle at all. He's basically the valet who's got a bunch of money. You've got Fandango as was it Chet was like Chet Chatterfield or whatever. He's the color guy with John Cena, and he's heartbroken because his girlfriend's a whore. Dude, it's amazing. It is amazing. It's so funny. You need to check it out. I advise everybody to watch it. You can find it on YouTube. You can find it on the network. We already talked about Asuka, and Enzo debuted on Tuesday on 205 Live. That's all I got for news and notes.
His rightful place, I think he could shine there. He doesn't need to be on Raw. He's just taking up a lot of space, and I think that his shtick will work much better at 205 Live. We'll stay abreast.
Yeah, I think he needs to work on his in-ring work a little bit. Once he cleans that up, maybe he'll get the call back up. And again, he's got a lot of heat in the back, and this gets him away from Vince McMahon, and that was the goal of moving him to 205 Live, is getting him away from Vince because he pissed Vince off something fierce. We turn on the microphones, kick on the office lights, and my goodness, the time just flew by, sir. Great episode. Always enjoy the conversation. For the Jock, Adam Strozinski, I am the Doc, John Macaroon. See everybody next week. Go Lions.
This was locker room talk.
Second dick.
Sorry, Detroit. Didn't quite work out.
And all I can say is Detroit Sports Podcast scores.
I hear voices in my head. They counsel me. They understand. They talk to me.